Today I finally read your last message. I put it off longer than I should have, longer than was honest, longer than the care I claimed to have for you justified. I saw it arrive. I knew it was there. I chose other things, chose the easier hours, chose the days that did not require me to sit with whatever you had sent, whatever you had finally decided to say after the silence that preceded it, the silence I also noticed and did not address. Today I read it. I want to be honest about what reading it was like, not the version that makes me look better, not the version where I received it with perfect grace and clarity, but the honest version where I sat with it for a long time before I understood what I was actually feeling, where the feeling took time to become clear enough to name. I read your last message, and I want to tell you what I found there, what you gave me in those words you chose carefully. I could tell you chose them carefully, could feel the weight of the choosing in how they landed, in the specific way they arrived, not rushed, not the unedited version that immediate feeling produces, but the considered one, the one that had been thought about before being written, the one that knew what it wanted to say and found the honest words for it. You gave me truth in your last message, and truth from someone you have hurt or failed or left without the full, honest accounting of what happened is one of the most significant things you can receive, is one of the things that does not come easily, that costs something to give, that requires more than people usually give when a situation is already painful, already complicated, already requiring things from both people that are difficult to give. You gave it anyway. I want to tell you what your message said, what I understood from it after sitting with it long enough to actually understand rather than just react to you. Said what was true for you without dressing it up, without the protective layers that difficult messages usually have, without the softening that makes the real content easier to send but harder to receive, because the softening obscures the actual thing underneath. You gave me the actual thing, and I sat with it, and I want to honor that by responding honestly, rather than with the managed version, rather than with the response that protects me more than it tells you the truth. You said you were hurt by specific things that I did or did not do, specific moments, specific choices, specific ways I showed up or failed to show up, and you were right to name them, right to give them the specific, honest weight they deserved rather than the vague general hurt that is easier to deflect, easier to explain away, easier to not fully receive because it is not specific enough to require specific acknowledgement. You gave me specifics, and specifics require actual response, actual honest engagement with what is being said, rather than the performed response that general hurt sometimes gets. I received your specifics. I want you to know that I received them without the defensive reflex that wanted to explain them, contextualize them, find the version where I am less responsible for them than your message suggested. I received them as you gave them, as the honest account of what happened from your position in the situation, which is the only position you had access to, and which I am not in a place to dismiss or override or declare less accurate than my own, because your experience of what happened is real, is actual, is the genuine felt truth of what the situation was like from where you were standing, and I am not able to say what it was like from where you were standing. Only you know that, only you lived it. From that position, your message told me something I needed to hear, something I had been avoiding. If I am honest, had been routing around in the way you route around difficult terrain, when the difficult terrain is there and unavoidable, but you pretend there is another path. There is not another path, there was only the honest reckoning, and you gave it to me in your last message, and I read it today, and I'm sitting with what it asked of me, which is to acknowledge what I already knew, which is that I was not always who you needed me to be, not always as present as the situation required, not always as honest as I should have been with both of us about what was happening, about what I was actually feeling versus what I was presenting, about the distance between those two things, which I let grow larger than it should have been allowed to grow. I am acknowledging that now, because your message asked for it, and because you deserve it, not as a transaction, not as something I give you to resolve the situation or to close it cleanly in a way that serves me more than it serves the truth, but as the genuine, honest response of someone who has read what you wrote and received it fully